The Song of Igor's Campaign, Igor, son of Sviatoslav and the grandson of Oleg. Translated by Vladimir Nabokov. Exordium. Might it not become us, brothers, to begin in the diction of the stern tale of the campaign of Igor, son of Sviatoslav. Let us, however, begin this song in keeping with the happenings of these times, and not with the contriving of Boyan. For he, Vaitik Boyan, if he wished to make a lord for one, ranged in thought like the nightingale over the tree, like the grey wolf across land, like the smoky eagle up to the clouds. For as he recalled, said he, the feuds of initial times, he set 10 falcons upon a flock of swans, and the one first overtaken sang a song first. To Yaroslav of yore, and to brave Mstislav, who slew Redidya before the Kasog troops, and to fair Roman, son of Sviatoslav. To be sure, brothers, Boyan did not really set 10 falcons upon a flock of swans. His own Vaitik fingers he laid on the live strings, which then twanged out by themselves a paean to princes. So let us begin, brothers, this tale, from Vladimir of yore to nowadays Igor, who girded his mind with fortitude and sharpened his heart with manliness. Thus imbued with the spirit of arms, he led his brave troops against the Kuman land in the name of the Russian land. Boyan apostrophized, O Boyan, nightingale of the times of old, if you were to trill your praise of these troops while hopping, nightingale, over the tree of thought, if you were flying in mind up to the clouds, if weaving paeans around these times you were roving the Troyan trail, across fields onto hills, then the song to be sung of Igor, that grandson of Oleg, would be, no storm has swept falcons across wide fields, flocks of daws flee toward the great dawn. Or you might intone thus, Vaitik Boyan, grandson of Veles. Steeds neigh beyond the Sula, glory rings in Kiev, trumpets blare in Novgorod-Seversk, banners are raised in Putovil. Visyevolod's speech. Igor waits for his dear brother, Visyevolod, and wild bull Visyevolod arrives and says to him, my one brother, one brightness, you, Igor, we both are Sviatoslav's sons. Saddle, brother, your swift steeds. As to mine, they are ready, saddled ahead near Kursk. As to my Kurskers, they are famous knights, swaddled under war horns, nursed under helmets, fed from the point of the lance. To them the trails are familiar, to them the ravines are known. The bows they have are strung tight, the quivers unclosed, the sabres sharpened. Themselves, like grey wolves, they lope in the field, seeking for themselves honour and for their prince glory. The eclipse and Igor's speech. Then Igor glanced up at the bright sun and saw that from it with darkness his warriors were covered. And Igor says to his guards, brothers and guards, it is better indeed to be slain than to be enslaved. So let us mount, brothers, upon our swift steeds and take a look at the blue dawn. A longing consumed the prince's mind, and the omen was screened from him by the urge to taste of the great Don. For I wish, he said, to break a lance on the limit of the Cuman field. With you, sons of Rus, I wish either to lay down my head or drink a helmetful of the Don. Igor sets out accumulation of omens. Then Igor set foot in the golden stirrup and rode out in the campaign. The sun blocks his way with darkness. Night, moaning ominously unto him, awakens the birds. The whistling of beasts arises, stirring the Deva calls on the top of a tree, bids hearken the land unknown, the Volga and the Azov seaboard and the Sula country, and Suroj and Korsun, and you, idol of Tumutorakan. Meanwhile, by untrodden roads, the Cumans make for the great Don. Their wagons screech in the middle of the night, one might say, dispersed swans. Igor rides on. Igor leads Donward his warriors. His misfortunes already are forefelt by the birds in the oak scrub. The wolves in the ravines conjure the storm. The urns with their squalling summon the beasts to the bones. The foxes yelp at the vermilion shields. O Russian land, you are already behind the culmen. Long does the night keep darkling. Dawn sheds its light. Mist has covered the fields. Stilled is the trilling of nightingales. The jargon of jackdaws has woken. With their vermilion shields, the sons of Rus have barred the great steppe, seeking for themselves honour and for their prince glory. The first engagement. Early on Friday they trampled the pagan Cuman troops and fanned out like arrows over the field. They bore off fair Cuman maidens, and with them gold and brocades and precious samite. By means of caparisons and mantlets and furred cloaks of leather, they started making plankings to plank marshes and miry spot with all kinds of Cuman weaves. A vermilion standard, a white gonfalon, a vermilion pennant of dyed horsehair, and a silver hilt went to Igor, son of Sviatoslav. Night and dawn of Saturday. In the field slumbers Oleg's brave eyrie. Far has it flown. Not born was it to be wronged either by falcon or hawk, or by you, black raven, pagan Cuman. Gazak runs like a grey wolf. Konchak lays out a track for him to the great Don. On the next day, very early bloody effulgences herald the light. Black clouds come from the sea. They want to cover the four suns, and in them throb blue lightnings. There is to be great thunder. There is to come rain in the guise of arrows from the great Don. Saturday, the Cumans counter-attack. Here lances shall break. Here sabres shall blunt against Cuman helmets on the river Kaala by the great Don. O Russian land, you are already behind the culmen. Now the winds, Stryborg's grandsons, in the guise of arrows waft from the sea against the brave troops of Igor. The earth rumbles, the rivers run sludgily, dust covers the fields. The banners speak. The Cumans are coming from the Don and from the sea and from all sides. The Russian troops retreat. The fiends' children bar the field with their war cries. The brave sons of Rus bar it with their vermilion shields. Vsevolod in battle, fierce bull Vsevolod. You stand your ground, you spurt arrows at warriors. You clang on helmets with swords of steel. Wherever the bull bounds, darting light from his golden helmet, there lie pagan Kuman heads. Cleft with tempered sabres are their Avar helmets. By you, fierce bull Vsevolod. What wound, brothers, can matter to one who has forgotten honours and life? And the town of Chernigov, golden throne of his fathers, and of his dear, beloved Gleb's fair daughter, the wants and ways. Recollections of Oleg's feuds. There have been the ages of Troyan, gone are the years of Yaroslav. There have been the campaigns of Oleg, son of Sviatoslav. That Oleg forged feuds with the sword and sowed the land with arrows. He sets foot in the golden stirrup in the town of Timur-Tarakan. A similar clinking had been hearkened by the great Yaroslav of long ago. And Vladimir, son of Vsevolod, every morn that he heard it, stopped his ears in Chernigov. As to Boris, son of Vyacheslav, vainglory brought him to judgment, and on the Kanin river spread out a green pall for the offence against Oleg, the brave young prince. And from that Kyala Sviatobok had his father conveyed, cradled between Hungarian paces, tandem-wise, to St. Sophia in Kiev. Then under Oleg, child of malglory, sown were and sprouted discords. Perished the livelihood of Dashbog's grandson among princely feuds. Human ages dwindled. Then across the Russian land seldom did ploughmen shout, hop, hop, to their horses, but often did the ravens croak as they divided among themselves the cadavers, while jackdaws announced in their own jargon that they were about to fly to the feed. Thus it was in those combats and in those campaigns, but such a battle had never been heard of. Termination of battle. From early morn to eve, and from eve to dawn, tempered arrows fly, sabres resound against helmets, steel lances crack. In the field unknown, midst the Cuman land, the black sod under hooves was sown with bones and irrigated with gore. As grief they came up throughout the Russian land. What dins unto me, what rings unto me? Early today, before the effulgences, Igor turns back his troops. He is anxious about his dear brother Vsevolod. They fought one day, they fought another. On the third, toward noon, Igor's banners fell. Defeat and lamentations. Here the brothers parted on the bank of the swift Kyala. Here was a want of blood wine. Here the brave sons of Rus finished the feast, got their in-laws drunk, and themselves lay down in defence of the Russian land. The grass droops with condolement, and the tree with sorrow bends to the ground. For now, brothers, a cheerless tide has set in. Now the wild has covered the strong. Wrong has risen among the forces of Dashbog's grandson. In the guise of a maiden, wrong has stepped into Troyan's land. She clapped her swan wings on the blue sea by the Don, and clapping decreased rich times. The strife of the princes against the pagans has come to an end, for brother says to brother, this is mine, and that is mine too. And the princes have begun to say of what is small, this is big, while against their own selves they forge discord, and while from all sides with victories the pagans enter the Russian land. Oh, far has the falcon gone, slaying birds to the sea. But Igor's brave troops cannot be brought back to life. In their wake the keener has wailed, and lamentation has overrun the Russian land, shaking the embers in the Ingelhorn. The Russian women have started to weep, repeating, "Henceforth our dear husbands cannot be thought of by our thinking, nor mused about by our musing, nor beheld with our eyes. As to gold and silver, none at all shall we touch." And brothers, Kiev groaned in sorrow, and so did Chernigov in adversity. Anguish spread flowing over the Russian land. Abundant woe made its way midst the Russian land, while the princes forged discord against their own selves, and while the pagans, with victories prowling over the Russian land, took tribute of one bear from every homestead. Victories of Sviatoslav III recalled, all because the two brave sons of Sviatoslav, Igor and Vsevolod, stirred up the virulence that had been all but curbed by their senior, dread Sviatoslav, the great Prince of Kiev, who kept the Cumans in dread. He beat down the Cumans with his mighty troops and steel swords, invaded the Cuman land, levelled underfoot hills and ravines, muddied rivers and lakes, drained torrents and marshes, and the pagan Kobyaka out of the bite of the sea. From among the great iron Cuman troops he plucked like a tornado, and Kobyaka dropped in the town of Kiev, in the guardroom of Sviatoslav. Igor blamed. Now the Germans and the Venetians, now the Greeks and the Moravians sing glory to Sviatoslav, but chide Prince Igor, for he let abundance sink to the bottom of the Kaala and filled up Kuman rivers with Russian gold. Now Igor the prince has switched from a saddle of gold to a thrall's saddle. Pined away have the ramparts of towns, and merriment has dropped. Sviatoslav's dream. And Sviatoslav saw a troubled dream in Kiev upon the hills. This night from eventide they dressed me, he said, with a black pall on a bedstead of yew. They ladled out for me blue wine mixed with bane. From the empty quivers of pagan tulks they rolled great pearls onto my breast and caressed me. Already the traves lacked the master girder in my gold-crested tower. All night from eventide demon ravens croaked. On the outskirts of Plesensk there was a logging sleigh, and it was carried to the blue sea. The boyars explained their sovereign's dream, and the boyars said to the prince, "Already, prince, grief has enthralled the mind, for indeed 2 falcons have flown off the golden paternal throne in quest of the town of Temutarkan, or at least to drink a helmetful of the Don. Already the falcon's winglets have been clipped by the pagan's sabres, and the birds themselves entangled in iron meshes. Indeed, dark it was on the 3rd day of battle. 2 suns were murked, both crimson pillars were extinguished, and with them both young moons, Oleg and Sviatoslav, were veiled with darkness and sank in the sea. On the river Kyala darkness has covered the light. Over the Russian land the Cumans have spread, like a brood of pards, and great turbulence imparted to the Hin. Already disgrace has come down upon glory. Already thraldom has crashed down upon freedom. Already the Deva has swooped down upon the land. And lo, Gothic fair maids have burst into song on the shore of the blue sea. Chinking Russian gold they sing demon times. They lilt vengeance for Shahrukh, and already we, your guards, hanker after mirth. Sviatoslav's speech. Then the great Sviatoslav let fall a golden word mingled with tears, and he said, O my juniors, Igor and Vysyevolod, early did you begin to worry with swords the Cuman land and seek personal glory. But not honourably you triumph, for not honourably you shed pagan blood. Your brave hearts are forged of hard steel and proven in turbulence. But what is this you have done to my silver harness? Nor do I see any longer the sway of my strong and wealthy and multi-militant brother Yaroslav, with his Chernigov boyars and with his Moguts and Tatrans and Shelbirs and Topchaks and Revugs and Olbas, for they without bucklers, with knives in the legs of their boots, vanquish armies with war cries to the ringing of ancestral glory. But you said, let us be heroes on our own. Let us by ourselves grasp the anterior glory and by ourselves share the posterior one. Now is it so wonderful, brothers, for an old man to grow young? When a falcon has moulted, he drives birds on high. He does not allow any harm to befall his nest. But here is the trouble. Princes are of no help to me. The author apostrophizes contemporaneous princes. Inside out have the times turned. Now in Rim people scream under Cuman sabres, and Volodymyr screams under wounding blows. Woe and anguish to you, Volodymyr, son of Gleb. Great Prince Vysyevolod, do you not think of flying here from afar to safeguard the paternal golden throne? For you can with your oars scatter in drops the Volga, and with your helmet scoop dry the Don. If you were here, a female slave would fetch one Nogata, and a male slave one Razana, for you can shoot on land live bolts. These are the bold sons of Gleb. You turbulent Rurik, and you, David, were not your men's gilt helmets afloat on blood? Do not your brave knights roar like bulls wounded by tempered sabres in the field unknown? Set your feet, my lords, in your stirrups of gold to avenge the wrong of our time, the Russian land and the wounds of Igor, turbulent son of Sviatoslav. 8-minded Yaroslav of Galich, you sit high on your gold-forged throne. You have braced the Hungarian mountains with your iron troops. You have barred the Hungarian king's path. You have closed the Danube's gates, hurling weighty missiles over the clouds, breading your courts to the Danube. Your thunders range over lands, you open Kiev's gates. From the paternal golden throne you shoot at sultans beyond the lands. Shoot your arrows, Lord, at Konchak, the pagan slave, to avenge the Russian land and the wounds of Igor, turbulent son of Sviatoslav. And you, turbulent Roman and Mstislav, a brave thought carries your mind to deeds. On high you soar to deeds in your turbulence, like the falcon that rides the winds as he strives in turbulence to overcome the bird. For you have iron breastplates under Latin helmets. These have made the earth rumble. Many nations, Huns, Lithuanians, Yatvangians, Dermners and Cumans, have dropped their spears and bowed their heads beneath those steel swords. But already, O Prince Igor, the sunlight has dimmed, and not goodly. The tree sheds its foliage. Along the Ross and the Sula the towns have been distributed, and Igor's brave troops cannot be brought back to life. The Don Prince calls you and summons the princes to victory. The brave princes, descendants of Olga, have hastened to fight Ingvar and Vsevolod, and all three sons of Mstislav, 6-winged hawks of no mean brood. Not by victorious swords did you grasp your patrimonies. Where then are your golden helmets and Polish spears and shields? Bar the gates of the steppe with your sharp arrows to avenge the Russian land and the wounds of Igor, turbulent son of Sviatoslav. No longer, indeed, does the Sula flow in silvery streams for the defence of the town of Pereyaslav, and the Dvina too flows marsh-like for the erstwhile dreaded townsmen of Polotsk to the war cries of pagans. Izyaslav recalled. Alone Izyaslav, son of Vasilko, made his sharp swords ring against Lithuanian helmets, only to cut down the glory of his grandsire Vseslav, and himself he was cut down by Lithuanian swords under his vermilion shields, and fell on the gory grass as if with a beloved one upon a bed. And Boyan said, Your guards, prince, birds have hooded with their wings, and beasts have licked up their blood. Neither your brother Mryacheslav nor your other one, Vsevolod, was there. Thus, all alone, you let your pearly soul drop out of your brave body through your golden gorget. Conclusion of apostrophe. Despondent are the voices, drooped has merriment. Only blare the town trumpets. Yaroslav and all the descendants of Vyacheslav, the time has come to lower your banners, to sheathe your dented swords, for you have already departed from the ancestral glory. For you, with your feuds, you started to draw the pagans onto the Russian land, onto the livelihood of Vyacheslav. Indeed, because of those quarrels, violence came from the Kuman land. Vyslav's fate recalled. In the 7th age of Troyan, Vyacheslav cast lots for the damsel he wooed. By subterfuge propping himself upon mounted troops, he vaulted toward the town of Kiev and touched with the staff of his lance the Kievan golden throne. Like a fierce beast he leapt away from the troops at midnight out of Belgorod, having enveloped himself in a blue mist. Then at morn he drove in his battle axes, opened the gates of Novgorod, shattered the glory of Yaroslav, and loped like a wolf to the Nemiga from Duduki. On the Nemiga the spread sheaves are heads, the flails that thresh are of steel, lives are laid out on the threshing floor, souls are winnowed from bodies. Nemiga's gory banks are not sowed goodly, sown with the bones of Russia's sons. Vyacheslav, the prince, judged men. As prince he ruled towns, but at night he prowled in the guise of a wolf. From Kiev prowling he reached, before the cocks crew, to Mutarakan, the path of great whores. As a wolf prowling he crossed. For him in Polotsk they rang for matins early at St. Fear, the bells. but he heard the ringing in Kiev. Although indeed he had a Vedic soul in a doughty body, he often suffered calamities. Of him Vedic Boyan once said, with sense in the tag, neither the guileful nor the skilful, neither bird nor bard can escape God's judgment. Alas, the Russian land shall moan, recalling her first years and first princes. Vladimir of yore, he could not be nailed to the Kievan hills. Now some of his banners have gone to Rurik and others to David, but their plumes wave in counterturn. Lances hum on the Dunay. The voice of Yaroslav's daughter is heard, like a cuckoo, unto the field. Unknown, early, she calls. Yaroslavna's incantation. I will fly like a cuckoo, she says, down the Dunay. I will dip my beaver sleeve in the river Kyala. I will wipe the bleeding wounds on the prince's hardy body. Yaroslav's daughter early weeps, in Putivl on the rampart repeating, Wind, great wind, why, Lord, blow perversely? Why carry those Hinnish dartlets on your light winglets against my husband's warriors? Are you not satisfied to blow on high up to the clouds, rocking the ships upon the blue sea? Why, Lord, have you dispersed my gladness all over the feather grass? Yaroslav's daughter early weeps in Putivl on the rampart, repeating, O Dnieper, famed one, you have pierced stone hills through the Cuman land. You have lolled upon you Sviatoslav's galleys as far as Kobiaka's camp. Lull up to me, Lord, my husband, that I may not send my tears seaward thus early. Yaroslav's daughter early weeps in Putivl on the rampart, repeating, Bright and thrice bright sun, to all you are warm and comely. Why spread, Lord, your scorching rays on my husband's warriors? Why in the waterless field parch their boughs, with thirst close their quivers with anguish? Igor's escape. The sea plashed at midnight, waterspouts advance in mists. God points out to Igor the way from the Cuman land to the Russian land, to the paternal golden throne. The evening glow has faded. Igor sleeps. Igor keeps vigil. Igor in thought measures the plains from the great Don to the little Donets, bringing a horse at midnight. Ovlur whistled beyond the river. He bids Igor head. Igor is not to be held in bondage. Ovlur called, the earth rumbled, the grass swished, the Cuman tents stirred. Meanwhile, like an ermine, Igor has sped to the reeds and settled upon the water like a white duck. He leapt upon the swift steed and sprang off it, and ran on like a demon wolf, and sped to the meadowland of the Donets, and like a falcon flew up to the mists, killing geese and swans for lunch and for dinner and for supper. And even as Igor like a falcon flew, Valor like a wolf sped, shaking off by his passage the cold dew, for both had worn out their swift steeds. Says the Donets, Prince Igor, not small is your magnification, and Konchak's detestation, and the Russian land's gladness. Igor says, O Donets, not small is your magnification. You it was who lulled a prince on your wave, who carpeted for him with green grass your silver banks, who clothed him with warm mists under the shelter of the green tree, who had him guarded by the golden eye on the water, the gulls on the currents, the crested black ducks on the winds. Not like that, says Igor, is the river Stugna, endowed with a meagre stream, having fed therefore on alien rills and runners, she rent between bushes a youth, Prince Rostislav, imprisoning him. On the Dnieper's dark bank, Rostislav's mother weeps the youth. Pined away have the flowers with condolement, and the tree has been bent to the ground with sorrow. No chattering magpies are these. On Igor's trail, Gazars and Konchak come riding. Then the ravens did not call, the grackles were still, the real magpies did not chatter, only the woodpeckers. In the osiers climbing with taps marked for Igor the way to the river. The nightingales with gay songs announced the dawn. Says Gazak to Konchak, since the falcon to his nest is flying, let us shoot dead the falcon's son with our gilded arrows. Says Konchak to Gazar, since the falcon to his nest is flying, why, let us entoil the falcon by means of a fair maiden. And says Gazak to Konchak, if we entoil him by means of a fair maiden, neither the falconet nor the fair maiden shall we have, while the birds will start to beat us in the cumin field. Igor's return. Said Boyan, songmaker of the times of old, of the campaigns of the Kogans, Svyatoslav, Yaroslav, Oleg, hard as it is for the head to be without shoulders, bad it is for the body to be without head, for the Russian land to be without Igor. The sun shines in the sky. Prince Igor is on Russian soil. Maidens sing on the Danube. Their voices weave across the sea to Kiev. Igor rides up the Borochev slope to the Blessed Virgin of the Tower. Countries rejoice, cities are merry. Conclusion. After singing a song to the old princes, one must then sing to the young. Glory to Igor, son of Svyatoslav, to Wild Bull, Vysyevolod, to Vladimir, son of Igor. Hail, princes and knights, fighting for the Christians against the pagan troops. To the princes glory, and to the knights glory. Amen.